Hello and welcome to My Own Worst Enemy. We are getting ready to start playing through Mr. Madison's War, the Incredible War of 1812. So we are in the pre-war sequence. War has not started yet. We will be drawing from this 1812 card deck, which is specially set up with a fixed number of cards. The rest of the cards over here will come into play once we actually have the war start. And the way this works is when you start the game, the US player will draw first. You draw one card and one card only. If it is the declaration of war card, then that's when the war will begin, and we will, I'll show you what happens once that actually happens. So basically, one card per side initially until that declaration of war card is drawn. So let's go ahead and start. The US player starts first. There's not a whole lot we can do in this phase other than maneuver within our own territory. So let's go ahead. The US player is going to go first. We'll draw the first card, and it is the Winter Event Battle of... And I'm going to maul some of these names in here, and this is a good case if you can see that card. Battle of Mississinawa. So this is the US player that drew this card. It is a winter event, and it is a winter event for the British. So I have a choice to make here, and that's what do I want to do with this card. And as a reminder, since this is the pre-war, no card can be played to score points, no card can be played for events, no land forces can move into enemy territory, and no naval units can take the lake control boxes. So basically I can choose to hold this card, but it's kind of useless to do that, or I can play it for the ops points, and there are 2 ops points there that I can use. So I think here as the US player, I'm going to use this for the ops point. So I'm going to be able to play a 2-point card here, and I've got some tough choices to make. I've got Dearborn sitting over here. Now I can't activate Dearborn because he is a 3. If you look in the upper left-hand corner there, if that'll focus, you look in the upper left-hand corner, that's a 3, and I've only got a 2 card, so I can't really activate him. Now I could activate units independent of Dearborn, so I could activate 2 of the units in here and move them, which may not be a bad idea, because I don't really know. The decision that I have to make is, do I want to take Dearborn and march him up towards Lake Champlain, or do I want to try to just hold him back here in Albany and build up and maybe move some of these forces in that northern direction, or maybe move some of these forces back along this way towards Lake Ontario. I've also got Hull sitting over here, and I kind of want to start bringing him up along this path, which I think historically that might have happened. So I can activate Hull. He's a 2. I'll let you see this. He is a 2. The card was a 2, so I could activate him and pick up as many of these units in this stack as I wish to move them forward. And I have to be careful. You'll note these are lakeside or waterside towns. They are open for coastal invasion, so remember that your supply lines must trace back to supply sources. In this case, we have 2 sources. We have Fort MacArthur and are in Mansfield here, and I think we have Pittsburgh over here. So we got to be careful about tracing supply, and I got to make sure that the British cannot cut off our supply route. So I'd probably, if I moved along, would probably have to drop somebody off in Frenchtown here to try to protect that supply line. So what do I want to do with these 2 op points? So I think that's what I want to do. I think I'm going to activate Hull with this card. So it's 2 ops points. He's 2. Now he's a 3-star, so 3 stars can carry 15 units. And there's only 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 in this square with him. Also remember that leaders, they move 10. They can move 10. Land units can move 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate Hull, and he is going to move with this stack. Well, let's see. I got to do this right. And what I'm being careful of is, like I said, these land units can only move 6. I'm activating Hull. He has 10 moves. So I'm going to move to Lower Sandusky first and pick up this Ohio detachment. So that's the trails are 2. So he's moving to Lower Sandusky through a trail. So that's going to be 2 movement points. And then he's picking up this unit in Lower Sandusky. Now Lower Sandusky, you'll note, is not a coastal town. So the British cannot land at Lower Sandusky. They'd have to come in through Sandusky or Frenchtown. And I'm going to move back now to Maumee Rapids. I'm going to kind of put this unit off to the side because this unit started here and has moved back with Hull. So he's used 2 movement points. So he can only go 4 more. So I'm going to take Hull, I'm going to move him forward. So into Frenchtown with all these units. So this one's going to move again, and this stack will move with Hull. So now Hull has moved 2, 4, 6, and the units under him moved, they were here, so they've moved 2. So now they're down to 4. This Ohio detachment is now at 4 because it went 2, 4 with Hull. So you've got to keep track of your movement here. And I'm going to drop off, let's see, these are all the same. Now these are different strength units. We got some 5Cs and we got the pretty powerful 4B. So I'm going to drop off a 5C here in Frenchtown and keep moving. And we're going to move again. So we're going to move up now to Brownstown with this unit. Now this unit has now moved 6. This was the unit that started in Lower Sandusky. So it went 2, 4, 6. And that's the maximum movement that it can take. These other units under Hull can go 2, 4, 6. They can get all the way to Detroit. And Hull himself has gone. He started here, so he went 2, 4, 6, 8. He can get to Detroit because he can move 10. So we're going to drop off this Ohio detachment in Brownstown. That's as far as he can go. And then this stack is going to move one more into Detroit because the leader can move 10 and the units below him can move 6. So once again, they started here, 2, 4, 6 for the land units, and Hull 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and it's going to stop there. So that's going to be the move I take with this number 2 ops, or this 2-point ops card that the Americans played. So they played this card, and if I can pick it up on the slick map, I'm going to put it in the discard pile, which is conveniently located over here. So the Americans have played their first card, their first strategy card. So now the British player gets to go. The British player is going to draw 1 card from the card deck, and we draw Extended March. This is an event card that can be played by either the British or the Americans. And the Extended March, remember, you cannot play events because we're in the pre-war sequence. But this is actually a nice card because it says you can activate 1 land unit, which may expend up to 10 movement points. So here a land unit would be moving like a leader. The unit may engage in combat, but it does so with a -2 modifier. So not good for combat, but great for like strategic moving unit on the board. I could hold this card and play it later on, but I think I'm going to spend it for the ops. So again, we're looking at 1 ops point, and I'm going to move. And actually, I'm looking at a unit that's at a place here. So who is this? He should not be in American territory this early in the game. So this unit is in the wrong spot. Let me look at the setup chart real quick. One thing I love about this game, the setup chart that they provide is awesome. Reinforcements that come in. It's really well done. And the fact they're color-coded to reinforcements. So Glengarry should be sitting in 3 Rivers, which I believe is up here. And I don't know how he got all the way down there, but he did. So he's back now. I did bump the board earlier before I started playing this game, so maybe I have shifted some stuff around. Anyway, so I'm going to spend this card. We're going to play the 1 ops point, and I'm going to move. I need to start moving all kinds of units, really, but I'm going to move. We'll activate the 100th here, and we'll just start moving them down. So we can go, these are roads, so we can go 1, 2, 2 to St. Jean, and then 3, 4 would get him here. 3, 4 would get him here. I'm just gonna put him over here. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's gonna end up in Phillipsburg along the border. And that is this card played. So the British have now spent their strategy card and they have completed their turn. Now we go back to the US player, and then the US player will draw a card from the deck. And it is a winter offensive card, winter event. So this is a card that is for the American player, worth 2 ops. And it says the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th Kentucky regiments are placed at Fort MacArthur and are activated. They may move and have combat just as if they were commanded by a leader. Very powerful card here. And I may want to consider holding this. Remember that you can hold these cards within the year that they are playable. So this is 1812. So I think I may want to hold on to this card in anticipation of the winter event Now I'm reading the bottom of the card because it says they are still subject to all winter quartering rules at the end of the turn. So you'd have to be careful here with this card. And it's also important to note that these units they are referencing, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th Kentucky are not on the board yet. So this card would bring them into the game. So I'm going to hold it. The American player is going to hold this card. And so I'm going to put this card down. We'll just put it face down on the table here. And as the British hold cards, I'll place them up here, just kind of out of the way so we know they're holding those cards. And that will be the American play, the card play. So they've held it, and that is actually counts as playing a card. So now we go back to the British player who will draw a card. And they draw another event card. So this is a 3-ops card. So it's a powerful card as far as ops points. And it's event for the Americans. And it is a naval card here. So this really isn't going to do the British any good. This as far as the event goes, but it will do them good as far as playing it for the ops points. So I think the British, I think we're going to play this for the 3-ops. We're going to activate... who do we want to activate? And I got some areas of concern. For the British and the US, really, there are 2 forts that are very important for the British and the Americans to protect. That's Sackett's Harbor for the Americans and Kingston for the British. I'm gonna activate Prevost up here, and he's got 3 units under him, and they are 5Bs. These are really strong units. Those are good units. And I think I'm going to bring him down. So we're going to activate him. He's a 3-star, so he can carry 15. And he's going to move to 3 Rivers and pick up the unit we just relocated to the proper spot. And so he can go 1, 2, 3 to get to Montreal. We could continue moving along down the St. Lawrence. It's this invasion route would be 3 to move. So we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would get us to either of these locations. I don't think we want to cross the St. Lawrence just yet. I'm not sure what I want to do with him yet, honestly. Let's just bring him down though. So we're going to go 1 and pick up this unit. And remember, this unit now can only move, or these units, the stack can only move 1 less than this one now because they started in Quebec. So 1, 2, 3 to Montreal, 4, 5, 6 if we wanted to bring them down that way. I'm going to bring them to just west of Montreal. And I think both of these units, 1, 2, yeah. So if I bring the stack to here, does that make sense? Probably not, but it gives me the option of continuing along later this way or bringing them down towards Lake Champlain. And actually, maybe I'll just stop them in Montreal. And I'm going to show the stacks as being separate just for my own reasoning. So we're just going to bring those down, and that's going to be the card play for the British. Probably not a smart move, but that's what we're going to do. Now we go back to the Americans. They're going to draw a card. And this is another British card. It's a British event, so it's not going to do the Americans any good. They might as well play it for the ops value. So I'm going to activate 2 units under Dearborn. And I'm going to activate, we have there's a 5B. I'm going to activate this 5B. I'm trying to decide if I want to activate a 2nd unit with him. I'm going to activate the 3B. So we'll start with the 5B first. And the 5B can move 6. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to Sackett's Harbor. So we're going to reinforce Sackett's Harbor with this 5B unit. And the 3B, I'm thinking we might want to bring him to Sackett's Harbor as well. We could also start moving up towards Lake Champlain. Maybe we do that. And let's not send the 3B. Let's activate a little more powerful unit there. We'll activate a 4B. This one's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to Plattsburgh. And that is the American card play. Now we go back to the British. The British draw a card. Surprise at Fort Mackinac. So again, this is an event card. And do you want to hold this card? Let's see what it does. With no advance warning concerning declaration of war, Lieutenant Porter Hanks surrendered Fort Mackinac without a shot being fired. Can only be played as an event if the U.S. has not reinforced the fort. The U.S. unit on the space is permanently removed from play. The British may place one of their... Okay, so this is a card the British are going to want to hold. So they're going to put that in their hand. And now we go back to the Americans. They draw a card. Improved defense. This is a defense battle card. In any land combat, a -2 die roll modifier if it is applied against the attacker. This is in addition to other modifiers. So the Americans may want to hold this card. Pretty strong battle card. You can hold 2 cards in your hand in one turn, so it's a possibility that we want to hold this card as well. And I'm not familiar enough with the game. I don't know the cards. I don't have them memorized. You can hold 2 cards in your hand, but I'm just wondering if there is a better card coming up and that perhaps I do not want to hold that card. And what I'm wondering, I'll have to look this up in the rules, is if I hold this card, and I'm holding these, I'll be holding these 2 cards, if I draw another card next turn, can I play one of these cards from holding? I guess I could. So in other words, what I'm getting at is I could go ahead and hold this one for now. And if a better card comes up that I'd want to hold that's better than this one, I could hold that one instead and then play this for the ops value. So let's go ahead and hold this card. I think that's a legal move. So I'm going to hold that card, and now we go back to the British. They draw a card. And it is another event card, and it's an American event card, so this will do the British no good. It's a very powerful card, though. It's a 3. So now we can go back to activating a more powerful leader, or we could take 3 actions. And I don't know if it's worth taking control of Lake Ontario, let's say. We don't have a naval leader down here, so we couldn't really move all those at once, but we could use this card. Well, we can't put them in the lake control box. I forgot. We're in the pre-war sequence, so I would love to take control of Lake Ontario as the British, but I can't because we're not at war yet. Now, the Americans would love to have had this card because the event on it would have given them 2 victory points. So that would have been a great card for the Americans to draw, but they didn't. So I'm going to activate Prescott again, or Prevost. I don't want to call him Prescott. We're going to move him down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think what I'm going to do is drop a unit off at Prescott. Maybe that's where I got Prescott from. So we're going to drop this unit off here, and the rest of the stack will move on down to here. And again, I'm not sure strategy-wise if this is the best thing to do or not, but that's what I'm going to do. So that's the British card. Back to the American side. They draw a card. And it is an event card for the British. So again, the US side's getting the British events and the British are getting the US events. It doesn't matter, you can't play events in this phase anyway. So it's another 3 for the Americans. And again, we could activate Dearborn and move him up. And that's tempting just to get him moving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could get him all the way up to Plattsburgh. I don't know if we really want to do that this early in the game. We've got to protect Albany. It's a tempting target for the British with its 12 victory points, and it is a reinforcement point for the Americans. And again, we're in the pre-war phase, so I feel like there's just not a whole lot I can do. I'm just going to move. I'm going to continue moving this unit. So we will activate the 18th. And well, do I want to move that unit? Again, you got to be careful about your supply lines. If the British could land along the coast here and split our supply. But we've got supply from this way, so it doesn't matter. So let's go. We're going to bring this one to 1, 2. We're going to bring him to Buffalo and put him in here. And that is the American card play. Now we go to the British. There it is, the declaration of war. So the British must play this card. The United States Congress declares war on Great Britain, June 18th, 1812. All U.S. units are free now to invade Canada. The British units are free to attack U.S. territory. The restrictions of Rules 6.2 Step 3 are lifted. That's basically the pre-war steps. So we're going to put this card out. And so what that means now is these are the cards the Americans were holding. So what this means that the British have to play that card, and that is their action. We're going to go now through the play's going to go back to the American side, but now we're going to go through what happens once we pull that card. So now that the war's begun, we're going to draw our hand up to 7 cards each side. And so the card deck now will become full. I'm just going to put this under the existing. Now all the 1812 cards are out. We're going to draw up our hand to the size that I said, and that was 7. So we're going to go, the British player has 1, so they're going to get 6. The American player has 2, so they're going to draw 5. So we'll go, let's just see. I'm going to put them in my hand. So 1, and then 2. So now they're at 3. So they're at 3, 4. They're at 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, and 7. So let me double check real quick to make sure that is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the American player has 7 cards, and the British player should now have 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I believe this was the surprise at Fort Mackinac card was being held. I don't think it matters. And then I think the Americans were holding 2 cards, and that was these 2. And we'll just put these like this. So I need to double check. I don't think it matters. Well, I guess it does. So we're going to hold those out. So we've drawn up our cards now. Each side has drawn up to 7. The other thing that happens is the turn marker now gets placed the spring, summer of 1812. And so now we actually go into playing Mr. Madison's War, The Incredible War of 1812. And we will begin playing in earnest when we come back. So I'm going to stop this here. This was just the pre-war sequence I wanted to go through. And as far as watching these videos, if you're learning how to play, this will be a good break point. Do the pre-war phase first. And then when we come back, we'll go into the actual first turn of Mr. Madison's War. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me to get viewers to the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and that way you'll be notified when we actually start the first turn. And as always, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you back here next time.